Bryan Houston here with Wildcats coach Kyle Westerberg as we get ready for the district ball game against the Pine Tree Pirates back at home. You came off of a tough loss to a very good Marshall team who had a running back that ran for over 300 yards. And that's really been the story of the year, Coach. So tell me a little bit about what you saw, how you felt about things, and where the state of the program is after that game.
I think I'll break it down offensively. I thought it was our best performance all year long based off of how we ran the football. We're starting to get something I feel like we couldn't do very good the first 5 weeks was being able to run the football. But I felt like ever since we made the change kind of at the quarterback spot, we've gotten better running the football over these last 2 weeks. I felt like we were in the game all the way. We got into the fourth quarter and had an opportunity to punch one in. And, evaluating the last 7 weeks, we haven't been beat by no more than 16 points. It's a matter of just we're young in a lot of spots. I believe we're starting 6 sophomores in a very good district. And, anytime you get into those situations where you're starting young, I mean, it's good and it's bad. It's good for the future. It's just bad right now just because those guys are so young. They were playing freshman football last year at this time. But I believe, we're headed in the right direction. We've got, like I said, 95% of the kids showing up every day after school, especially this past week. We had Friday off out of school and we had Monday and Tuesday out of school. And those guys could easily have folded it up and say, I'm good. But I credit those kids for showing up every day and going to work. And they've proven themselves to me with everything that's going on right now and the way the season's kind of going is they continue to show up and they continue to battle and continue to try to get us in the win column. And it's going to happen. I'm confident that it's going to happen once or twice in these next 3 games, but we're right there and we're close. This one, like I said, went down into the fourth quarter and we just they had more gas and more experience in the tank than what we had in the fourth quarter.
Coach, we've seen it all year long, the teams that can run the football, and that's been the MO of pretty much everybody's seen now, that they're going to try to run it down your throat and trying to get off the field, the long drives and those kinds of things. What can you do to kind of stem that tide? I mean, or is it just the hand you're dealt right now?
I think it's a little bit of everything. And it's funny you bring that up. I had a coach on our staff sent me a stat over the last 5 or 6 years, and you can see the game of football kind of coming in full circle where, it started off with teams running the football and you saw a lot of power formations, things like that. And then next thing you know, you started seeing guys spread it out and they were going to throw it, 30, 40 times a game. But now, the offenses usually have the upper hand and it takes the defenses a while to figure out, all right, this is what I got to do personnel scheme wise to stop all this stuff. Well, it's coming back around now where teams have to, you got to run the football to win football games. And so he sent me a stat of, I want to say the last 5 years of the number of passes attempted in a season versus Whitehouse. And it started off like 300 something and has essentially gone to this year. It's like 115 right now. And that's 7 ball games of the amount of teams that have attempted passes versus us. But you're kind of seeing that go that direction. I think it's a culture deal. And I think it's a culture deal that, it's essentially getting down and dirty in the trenches and the stronger team is going to win. I feel like strength wise, we're getting there. but we're not quite there, and we're kind of outmatched. We're kind of outmatched every week. And so we've given up some yards rushing, but now we're starting to kind of rebound that and balance that by we're starting to be able to run the football now too.
The other thing I always felt like with the spread, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch, and you're seeing the ball going all over the field and everything. But in a lot of programs, not all, but a lot of programs, you saw where you lost a lot of physicality because of it. You didn't practice against it. You 9 times out of 10, you didn't play a team that did it. And that's where I see the difference, the change in the game now. Like you talk about Lincoln Riley. Yep. And he's from the air raid lineage, but that dude runs a football.
He does. You're starting to see it now, and it does. It does take some physicality away because from an offensive line standpoint, you work so much pass protection, and you don't really get down where. Hey, it's 3rd and 1, game's on the line, and it's like we're going to lean on those offensive linemen to go get us 1 yard. And so it does take away the physicalityness of being able to run the football. So I think where we're headed now is being able to run it successfully to set up the throw, and you're starting to see it with a lot of teams everywhere is people can run the football, and then that opens up all your play action stuff, your all the things that you want to get done. Where if you're just a spread, throw it 50 times a game, you put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, and you put a lot of pressure on the offensive line, where those defensive linemen, they can tee off on you, and basically defensively they hold the wild card where they can make you show your hand, where they can either sit back and drop 8 and rush 3 and try to go get you, or they can heat you up and play some man and try to get to you before you get in those situations. I think one thing from the game Friday night is we've got to quit putting ourselves, especially offensively, in an immediate 1st and 15 or 2nd and 15. We get behind the chains. We get off schedule a lot. And as a play caller, we need to try to stay on schedule, stay ahead of the chains. We're aiming to get 4 yards a carry, or 4 yards a play to where, we can get in some manageable 3rd downs. I felt like our 3rd downs last Friday night, they weren't very manageable. We're in some substantial 3rd and longs a lot. And then you're kind of put in some situations where it may be a 4th and long and you've got to go for it just because the game's on the line. So, those are the things that we've got to work, whether it's false starts or, it's a holding penalty here. We've got to get out of getting behind the chains and getting off schedule.
One of the positives of the game for you guys offensively is you rushed for over 200 yards in the ball game, 209, I believe. And Josh Green broke a long run, and I thought he might score on it, got caught from behind, and still was able to get in and get the touchdown. So what you're talking about, is that the kind of offense you thought you would run, or is that just the way the game has changed and you're changing your philosophy as you see this change coming in the game and the trends?
Every year it's adjusting to the personnel and the players that you have. It goes both, often, the game is changing, where, it's coming down to where teams are able to run the football because you want to, it's possession, it's time management. It's keeping, you may not have a very strong, defensive team. And the last thing you want is from an offensive standpoint, going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and they're on the field and we saw that early on, where that happens. So you're kind of seeing it. I thought coming in that, not to say that we were going to throw it 50 times a game, but I thought coming in, we were going to be able to do a few things in the passing game. But boy, was I wrong when you start looking at, how we're playing and where we're at. We got to be able to run it. And so I'm used to that. And that's kind of the philosophy I've taken for where I've been the last 5 years. We've been at a place just like Whitehouse, where I was at Barbers Hill, and we knew going in, of course, we wanted to change an offense and go into a spread and throw it around. And but when I look back in the 5 years, I would say we were a 50-50 balance if you tallied everything up. I don't think we were ever, we might have been a 60-40 or a 40-60, type thing like that. But we knew we needed to run the football to win some football games and stay in the mix.
And in a year like this, where you're still looking for the first win, you're looking for anything positive to, point out to your kids. And the most positive thing that I look at is that you're only down 19-14 with about 5-6 minutes to go in the third quarter. I mean, so you're still very much in the football game, and competitive. Is just they break a long run, and then that pretty much puts the nail in the coffin.
It's kind of been like that all year long. Where we've been in every ball game. I felt like this one, we were in it longer than some of the other ones, but it's kind of, you got a leaking pipe, and you're trying to patch a hole here, patch a hole here, patch a hole there. And, you kind of take your eye off of this other hole. And next thing you know, it just kind of, it burst. And it burst bad. Mm-hmm. And so we're just trying to, just keep fighting till the end and not give up the big long plays. And I think that goes back to we got to tackle better. And just as much as us being physical offensively, we've got to go back to being physical defensively. And, this district's full of great running backs. I don't think I've seen one bad running back in this whole district, even in the 7 games we played. From Forney to every one of them have had really good running backs. And so we've got to tackle better, and we've got to put ourselves in position to make tackles. And that was one thing I stressed this week is how we practiced is from an offensive line point, still coming off the ball hard, getting physical there. And then from defensively, I wanted those guys to wrap us up and put their feet and body in position to make tackles. And I felt like the last couple of weeks, we've kind of gotten away from that where, we kind of run by them, tag off, and, you're not really in position. So we're trying to simulate as much as we can in practice game stuff.
All right, let's look at Pine Tree. Coming into the year, Coach Lane had started to turn that program around. He had a good year last year. They're 4-4 right now, and they got manhandled by Texas High last week, which is not unusual. Texas High has basically done that to everybody they've played this year.
Right.
So based on that, how do you evaluate how good or not good Pine Tree is coming off of a loss like that to Texas High?
They're kind of, I think they're in the same boat we are. Right now, defensively, they're playing pretty good defensively. They got a lot of guys returning from last year's defense. But offensively, he's got some young kids. He's got two sophomores that are they're big kid. Like he's a sophomore quarterback, a big sophomore tight end, defensive end kid that so he's young, and so I think he's kind of in the same boat we are. He's just searching, maybe for their identity too, searching to get those kids where they need to be offensively. But that's just the name of the game in high school football. You play with a lot of young kids, and experience comes into play big time. But they're still right in the mix of everything. Scores are scores, and it's hard to read stuff off of scores. But you look at Marshall played T.I. real close, had an opportunity. Hallsville played T-High really close and had an opportunity, and Hallsville's playing pretty good right now. So, I think Mount Pleasant, they played them close early until they kind of got outmatched with numbers and depth. But, maybe T-High is just kind of this deal right here is, whenever somebody decides to flip the switch, it gets pretty scary. And so maybe they've decided to flip the switch. But Pine Trees, I mean, they're still tough. I look at everybody, week in and week out, and they're good. It's hard to compare, but we just got to go out and play our game.
Obviously, when I ask this question, I know you. The first thing is, what do you want to see this Friday night? You want to win. I get
right.
That goes without saying. But what do you want to see from your team that maybe you haven't seen up to this point?
It's going to, without me saying a win, I want to see 4 quarters, like I said, and you mentioned it too, up until 5 minutes into the fourth quarter. I want to see us until the buzzer sounds in the fourth quarter, keep it all, put all together. Still want to see us come out and execute better in the second half in the opening drive, whether it's offensively or defensively. That's kind of what I focused on last week. We had the opportunity offensively to come out, and I told them at halftime, I said, you're right there. You're down 6 at halftime. If we could maintain a drive and go down the field and score, I think that's the difference of the ball game. I think that's momentum, and it changes a lot. Defensively, if we're out there, they don't need to score on their first drive in the second half. So I want to see a change in that opening third quarter. No matter what the score is, I want to see us change and get better there. Because then I think, again, we start off pretty strong in the first and second quarter. It's just that third and fourth quarter stuff that, we talked about it from an offensive staff and even as a whole staff, offensively, we were going to run the reverse that you saw. Mm-hmm. We had it set up twice. One time they called a timeout, and it was going to be the second play of the game. They called a timeout, and then I think we jumped off sides, and everything just didn't go the way we wanted it to go. But, I think from a coaching staff, we're going to try to create a spark from an offensive, game plan, whether you see some type of trick play or deep shot. Defensively, we're going to, gamble and blitz and stunt and just us as coaches try to create some momentum. But I want to see better there. But again, if it gets into the 5 minute down with 5 minutes to go and we're still an opportunity in the game, I want to see us finish that 5 minutes. Because then I know if we do that, we've got a great opportunity.
Coach, again, thank you for doing this. Best of luck on Friday night. Let's see that first win of the year. I know your kids are ready for it. I know you're ready for it for sure.
We're gonna celebrate like it's the Super Bowl. I can promise you that. I know I will. I may shed a tear or two. I don't know. So,
well, I may shed a tear or two too if it happens. So let's get it. I'm more than willing to cry on the air.
Me too. I'm ready for it, and I know these kids I want these kids to just, you feel sorry for these seniors and everything they've done and what they've gone through. But sometimes I think the big man upstairs, puts adversity in front of you in life to see how you're going to respond. And sometimes it's not when we want that adversity. So I think that's what's happening right now.
Well, they're learning lessons, and somewhere down the line, these lessons will benefit them and you and your whole staff. So best of luck to you. Hang in there, and we look forward to watching you guys play Friday night.
Appreciate you.
All right. That's Kyle Westerberg, the Whitehouse High School head football coach, as we get ready for the Whitehouse Pine Tree game. Back in a moment.